I realize I'm probably looking really rough this morning. Plus, this has been one of the most stressful periods of my life. And the truth is that I was devastated and really in shock. Like, everyone that I talked to was like, this just doesn't make any sense. I've been with this company for 9.5 years. I had never been in a situation in anywhere I ever worked where I asked for help and was denied help. But I was willing to stay. I was willing to stay because it was what was comfortable. This does have a happy ending. Stay to the end and I'll give you the latest update. Good morning. I look like heck. I'm up in Kentucky visiting my aunt and took a sunrise walk this morning. Didn't bring my tripod with me, so I'm just having to prop this camera up on a fence. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the video I just put up, my last one about being laid off. I was editing that video yesterday and I thought, wow, she seems really happy for someone who was laid off. And the truth is that I was devastated and really in shock that day still, because I had been alone for the better part of 3 days with my husband being out of town and it being the weekend. There's a rabbit. I don't know if you're gonna see it. He came hopping this way. Oh. Like I said, I was in shock and I had been crying on and off for those 2 days and just trying to wrap my brain around it. And like, everyone that I talked to was like, this just doesn't make any sense. Like, you have good programs, you make money for the company. It still doesn't make sense, to be honest, other than the fact that probably, well, I know I was the highest paid designer there. So, you know, that's when it came down to it. And I also was holding out hope that the CEO would agree to let me go down to part-time until they could turn this around. And then I found out 2 days after I filmed that video that the answer was no. I was allowed to work out 2 weeks and then get 2 weeks severance. But yeah, I really couldn't see this coming, and I'm still sad. I'm still grieving. You know, it's the people that you work with that I'm gonna miss the most. They're like your family. You spend more time with them than you do your own family. We've been through a lot together. If you've been watching my channel for the past few years, I've made a few videos talking about some of the, or at least one of the huge things that we went through when somebody passed away. Our director passed away suddenly. Anyways, yeah, so she passed away and that trauma bonded us a lot more even. I realize I'm probably looking really rough this morning. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night and I ate some not so great food yesterday. So yeah, my skin is not looking as glowy and fresh and healthy as it normally does. So please excuse it. Plus, this has been one of the most stressful periods of my life, at least in a long time. Even Sylvia dying was, even though it was traumatic, we were all experiencing it together, and I still was working, you know, I was still making a paycheck. I could still function in my life without worrying that I could pay my bills. Of course, the first thoughts that go through your mind when you find out you're being laid off is, how am I gonna pay my bills? What are we gonna do? This does have a happy ending. Stay to the end and I'll give you the latest update, but I just wanna sort of share the process that I've been going through for the past 2 weeks. And, you know, if any of you have been laid off, I'm sure you can relate to all these feelings that I'm expressing. And I just wanted to express them pretty much this one time, and then, you know, I don't know how much I will talk about this adventure hereafter. For the first week, I would say, I felt like I had been hit by a truck. My body felt like I had been hit by a truck. I was shaking constantly, 24/7. I was shaking. And I realized it one night when I got home from work. I felt like I had been in a car accident. My body hurt so bad. And I was like realizing, yeah, I've been shaking for a week. And I've got to like find a way to calm my nervous system, because this isn't good. This isn't good. But yeah, when you are presented with such an unexpected, and even though I had been feeling uneasy this year about the economy, and I had made, I'd mentioned that in some of my videos.
And I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing a lot of things that are disconcerting about where the country is headed, the financial situation that we might be headed to as a country. So it's really important to me to establish these good habits now for the possibly leaner times ahead.
And I was feeling maybe uneasy about the company as a whole, and thinking they might just close the doors and we might just all be out of a job, which is one of the reasons why I was like, I gotta save as much money as I can, put away as much as I can, thus the low buy year. One of the reasons was feeling uneasy about both the economy and about our company. So just some background. I've been with this company for 9.5 years. I was there in a former lifetime for 6 years when it was owned by the original founder and owner. And he had skin in the game, he was there every single day. It was his business. He built it up from scratch, and he knew every part of the business. He knew every single thing. He didn't know design, which is why he hired designers, but he is a wealth of information for sure. I left for various reasons, partly because the salary was so low, but I went somewhere else for 2.5 years. I feel like that's a really good story. I'll probably tell that in another video. Anyways, I was there for 2.5 years, working part-time, like 25 hours a week, making more money than I had been making working 50 plus hours a week at the previous job. After a couple of years, he sold the company to a sort of a venture capital company, and they wanted to acquire an apparel company. So he knew one of their VPs, because we had done work for him before, and they bought his company. Well, at that point, the former vice president of our company, who was still working as, they call them merchants, but really a salesman, and he was in that position, vice president, and so the salesman that would go out and get the orders. But we always kept in touch, and I had even been doing freelance for them for those 2 years. And he calls me and he was like, we want you back now that it's owned by a much bigger corporation. We can pay you what you deserve to be paid. So they offered me a really sweet deal, and I just had to take it, especially since my husband, being self-employed, his businesses weren't making as much money, especially after COVID, as they had been. So I took it, and I started the Monday after I turned 50. I started. So I knew that I needed to put a lot of money away, and that was only 3 months later that I started making my videos for my no-buy year, which was January of 2023. And I knew I needed to get a handle on my spending. I'm 50 now. I'm 50. Yeah, it's time to get serious. It's time to get serious about our finances. And these are the earning years. These are, the last push before you get into your 60s, and hopefully you can retire. So I took the job, and I knew it was going to be more stress. I knew it was going to be longer hours and more work, and it's been all those things. But it's also been rewarding, and I've met the most amazing women and some men, but mostly women. But I've been back there 3.5 years now. Yeah, I've been a total with some form of that company 9.5 years. And by the way, about a year after I came back, they sold the company again. That's another story. For me, I guess it's been a bit of a wake-up call, because I was willing to I'm really thirsty. I should have brought a bottle of water with me. For me, there were so many things that I was unhappy about with the way things were done with this company, and feeling like the past owner, he wasn't the easiest person to work with, but I knew he really cared about his company, and whenever I needed help, he would figure something out to get me some help. And he cared. I don't know how much he cared about me individually, but just knowing that he cared about his company in a different way, because it was his, and he had built this and worked it for over 30 years. You know, it was, you always knew that you could get help when you really needed it. He would either hire people, or he would take people from other teams and put them on your team. So you always felt like you could get help. But with this company, no matter how many times we asked for help, we couldn't get it. And because they had laid off half the staff 2 years ago, which was all of our assistants, now we were working just on our own on all of our programs, with nobody else knowing what we were doing. And so nobody could just step in and help out, because they didn't have any knowledge of the program at all. So if you were out of town or you got sick, there was nobody to pick up the slack. It just piled up on your desk. And I had never experienced that before. In all my years, I had never had that experience where we just had, we didn't work in teams anymore. It's been incredibly stressful over the past 2 years to do everything on my own, and everybody feels that way. Everybody's doing everything on their own without a team in the office. There's a lot of people working remote, doing a lot of different things, but none of that really affects our day-to-day, what we do. Yeah, there's a lot of people making a lot of money doing who knows what. I'm sure they're doing something. I just, I resigned myself to, this is just how it's going to be. And I love the people that I work with, and I love my customers, and I'm just going to have to deal with this. I'm just going to have to do this because this is the way it is. And, I have a 5-year plan, and I should be able to work part-time either here or somewhere else, or do something completely different, or maybe my YouTube channel will be able to provide some income at that point, enough so that I can just focus on this. So I just resigned myself that I would continue going to this soul-sucking company every day. I could feel a piece of me being chipped away every time there was a new disappointment, and things that were promised were not fulfilled. And, I just got used to not expecting anything, because I had never been in a situation in anywhere I ever worked where I asked for help and was denied help. And in my life, I've never experienced that. If I'm going through, if I'm going through something, I've learned that I need to reach out to people and say, I don't know how, but I I don't know if you can help or not, if you know somebody that can help, but here's what's happening. You know, whether it's a repair, you know, anything that I'm going through in my life, that I feel like as soon as I ask, help shows up. And this is the one place where that didn't happen. And it makes you think, like, what the heck is going on with this place where you reach out for help and you don't get it, really, in any way other than maybe emotionally, for my coworkers who are also going through stuff. So here's the happy news, because I've come to not being here has almost changed me enough to not believe that good things happen to me anymore, which is kind of sad. I did go to Peru last summer. It was my third time going there. I go for a retreat in the jungle. And again, I was reminded that when I ask for things, I get them almost instantly. And then I come back to the quote unquote real world, and the experience where I work was completely different again. And so I knew, I'm like, it's not me, it's an energy blockage in this company. And I knew that, but I was willing to stay. I was willing to stay because it was what was comfortable. So rewind to a year and 3 months ago, another apparel company that I had never heard of, but was literally right up the street from where I work. And they've been around, a family owned, for 20 plus years. I got an email. And the weird thing was, I got it to an email that I don't use for business. Like, I have an S Corp, and I do a DBA for my freelance work, and that runs through my business. But I had never had this email on any of the job listing sites where you post your resume or anything like that. I don't, to this day, I don't know. And I'm going to have to find out, because it's so interesting. Because it was my Adventures with Robin email that they emailed me through, which is only linked to this YouTube channel that I can think of. It's only linked to this YouTube channel. Well, long story short, they needed a designer, and I met with them several times, and they offered me, basically, it was a lateral move. They offered me the same salary with benefits. I just wasn't ready to pull the trigger. I wasn't ready to leave my job. And it was all because of my coworkers and the loyalty to my coworkers and my customers. It was also that. I graciously turned them down and said, listen, let's stay in touch, because I really like you guys. I really like your company. I could actually see myself working here someday. I just think right now isn't the right time for me. And I'm sorry, but I have to say no right now. Then obviously, I was still in shock the day I got laid off, which was a Friday. On Saturday, I started sending out emails to people that I knew in the industry, and they were one of them. And Monday, I got an email right away that they wanted to speak to me. And by Tuesday, I had an offer. So I have a job, I have a week off, and then I start with them after this. I'm going to try to really enjoy this week off. Sort of wish it was a little longer, but I'm anxious to get started and get into a routine and settle in. I don't want too much time passing. That was so random, though, that I had never even heard of the company, and that they were so close by, and that they sought me out like 15 months ago. They were obviously one of the first places that I thought of, and I'm going to be working there now. So it's happy news, and it's scary. It's obviously a big change. It's scary. And, I'll just share this with you, because this is what I'm learning and relearning, that if you're going through something, I always say this too shall pass. I have faith that even though I'm grieving right now, and even though it's really difficult and I'm very sad, I'm still very sad. I still break down into tears every day. I do believe that this is in some way for my highest good, in some way, and I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it probably sooner rather than later, why this happened and why it happened like this. I have to have trust. I have faith. I do have faith that it's going to work out. I was willing to live a level of low-grade depression in my job to stay comfortable. And the universe has said, no, darling, we need you not to be comfortable. We need you to do something outside your comfort zone so that you'll be happier. And I do think that ultimately this is going to lead to something much better in my life. I really do. I think things happen for a reason. I think we can't see it sometimes when it's the initial trauma of something, but in just about everything that's happened in my life, I have ultimately been able to see the true blessing in it. And if you're interested in this type of content, this is more spiritual, kind of esoteric content, which I love talking about, but doesn't seem to get a lot of views. But if you want to hear about these things, like inspiring stories from my life and ways that I've lifted myself out of deep, dark places and very difficult situations, I'm happy to share those. Just let me know in the comments below if you want to hear those stories, and maybe it'll inspire you or give you hope that things will get better, because we've all been through things, and I've been through my share of things for sure. But I know that I always come out stronger on the other side and with lessons learned. And I would love to share those. I would love to share that as part of my journey here. And let me know if that's something that you're interested in too. So until next time, I know this is not, the glammed up beauty Robin that you usually see. But this is the real, where I am right now, Robin. Messy, chaotic, just trying to get by day right now, moment by moment, and just breathe. It's beautiful. It's morning. I'm in Kentucky. It's really beautiful. Let me show you where I'm at. So this is a farm behind me. And my aunt lives in a senior community up here, and it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. It's spring has sprung. It's gorgeous. There's so many birds. You're probably hearing them this whole video because they are so loud. I've never heard so many birds in my life as I heard this morning. Until next time, guys, I love you, and I'm doing great, and I know no matter what's happening in your life, you're doing great too.